I started to freak out because I'm like, this is a lot more use of my artwork than I had agreed upon. And so I freaked out for a little bit, and then I wrote an email, and I was like thinking, do I need to get a lawyer involved? I don't have the money to do that. This is just going to be ridiculous. And I almost just turned around and walked away and didn't. I'm just like, no, I have learned, and I know over the last couple of years, I know my value. I know that I can't be taken advantage of. I'm going to give them an opportunity to correct their mistakes without jumping down their throat and being like, I'm going to sue you, or I'm going to go to a lawyer.
Wouldn't it be nice if your art business loved you back? Hi, I'm Stacie Bloomfield. After years of trial and error and late night doodling, I went from being a coffee shop manager to running a vibrant 7-figure art business that I love. And now I'm on a mission to help more artists create an art business that they love too. So I invite you to find a cozy spot, pull out your favorite sketchbook, and listen in. It's never too late to chase your creative dreams. Welcome to the Art Plus Audience podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited because I'm here with my dear friend and just amazing surface pattern designer and creative business owner, Ashley Paggi.
Hi.
Hi, Ash.
Hi, Stacie.
I'm thrilled to have you here today because what I have loved watching you do over the past few years is build a business that truly reflects you, your personal brand story comes through so strongly with everything that you create as an artist. And I just want a chance for everyone to get to know you a little bit. So can you tell everyone about Ashley Paggi, who you are, where you live, what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is really fun. We're sitting on a couch together.
Woo!
And it's just so good to see you in person. We don't get to do this often.
No, we don't.
I'm very excited to be here. My name is Ashley Paggi, and I own a business called Ash Cascade Design, which I started in 2020, basically, when I was pivoting from being a stay-at-home mom and a graphic designer into learning how to be a surface pattern designer, leveraging my art into lots of different industries, creating multiple revenue streams, all of those things. So in the last 4 years, I have just had the best time learning what my strengths are and implementing things that I learned from really talented teachers and turning it into a really actual viable business that can help support my family. I have 2 kids right now. They are 9 and 6 and a dog, and I live in Oregon. And a lot of my design work and the things that I like to put out into the world really directly reflect the place that I live. I do a lot of floral patterns and artwork, and a lot of them tend to be more, I like to say they're kind of like gritty a little bit. There's always, if there's florals, there's like thorns, or there's kind of more muted ashy colors, because that's what I see in the high desert where I live. It's a little different than some big, beautiful, like peony flowers that haven't, they're smaller and a little bit more hardy. Hardy.
I like it. Hearty art from Ash
Hearty
Cascade.
arty. Yeah.
Hearty arty.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's the good stuff. So here's the thing, like what you do so wonderfully is who you are as a person somehow comes through not only the art you create, but how you present it to the world. And I think the way you've done that is so specific, and it's helped you to build an art audience full of people who they adore you. The people who follow you, the people who are on your email list, they support you. They know your story because of how you have shared it so specifically. And because of that, you have done what so many creatives want to do, is to build a small, engaged audience of people who are just raving fans. And I think that people would love to know a little bit more about how you've done that. So do you mind sharing a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that I almost didn't necessarily intentionally do that on purpose. I think when I started my business, I just thought, how can I get myself out in front of my audience and who I'm trying to attract? And for me, with the background in branding and graphic design and working for bigger corporations, I knew that I had to tell my story and really let people into my world. And so I do that through brand photography. I do that through sharing. I try not to share too much like extremely personal things. If you notice, I mostly would show my kids from the back or those kinds of things. So I show my story, but I do it really intentionally. And I want people to know where I'm at in the world, where I'm at in my stage of life, what kind of art I make. I bring people in when I'm experimenting. It's not perfect what I show people, but yeah, I guess I want to share my story in a way that's relatable. And I really love connecting with other artists. So it doesn't feel like a chore. It's just like, let's chat.
What you've done is you've married authenticity with a high level of refinement, which in turn, oh, well, it's true. Well, which in turn takes you from someone who you started your surface pattern design career in 2020. You replaced your income as a full-time graphic designer with your surface pattern design career through art licensing. And now you've launched a product-based brand where you're doing amazing art prints. I have one of them in my son's room. And the thing is, 2020 wasn't that long ago. And there are a lot of people who started in 2020 because of their COVID pivots, right? But I saw you so full disclosure, Ash was one of my students. Whenever I first launched Leverage Your Art, she was in the class of 2020 , right?
Oh, yeah. When you were doing it from your bedroom.
Doing it from my bedroom, much like this interview. We're doing it together. But what I noticed is you kind of rose very quickly in terms of like your art was great. There are a lot of amazing artists out there. The way you have presented yourself online and in your newsletter and connected with people is a huge reason why, like when I say refinement, it's a huge reason why I think that you were able to leap into art licensing. I won't say it's effortless, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but in a way where you have actually landed some really big contracts. So who are some of the people you've worked with?
Well, I licensed my art on fabric for cotton and steel fabrics. That was probably, only a month or two after I took Leverage is when I got that contract, which is really exciting. And it was very unexpected, I guess, is for me. I have worked with geometry tea towels. I've worked with Kindercloth diapers. I've worked with some NDA clients that I can't share about, but most recently I worked with Miss Myers cleaning products to do a small project that hopefully could lead to something bigger. A few more, but I'm on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring that up because like what you've done is what so many people who are listening today want to do. They want to still be able to be with their children, work from home, replace maybe the income from their career that they didn't maybe love their career. It didn't serve them anymore with their art. And so you have done that, but we know, you and I know, because I know you know your story, like that growth and getting from like the beginning, the dream to actually having like the money in hand from your art through art licensing or product. Like it's a journey. And it even if you land a contract a few months after taking a program, money doesn't necessarily come in for a while with art licensing. So I guess I want to go back to the beginning with you, because what we do here in this podcast is we want to not only talk about ways to build an audience and grow it as an art business owner, but we don't want to shy away from like those growing pains, those mistakes and fumbles that we all make, because on the outside, looking at your brand, you've got the brand photography, the beautiful artwork, the licensing collaborations, but there have been some things that have happened along the way that were probably discouraging and stopped you in your tracks.
No, nothing.
It's been perfect.
It's perfect. I've never made a mistake.
Never made a mistake ever.
And I never will. It's amazing.
No. All right, podcast is over. We're done. Have a good day.
They might not know that I'm kidding though.
Oh, she's kidding. I promise. But I think what's really important for people to hear is whenever we look at your brand on the outside, it's aspirational and it's what so many people want to have built. And whenever you're building that brand from the beginning, there are mistakes that people just don't know happen, miscalculations, deals that fall through, so many things that would in so many ways derail people in their career path. In fact, when I talk to most aspiring artists, the what if this bad thing happens, the biggest scary thing, like that is the focus and the fixation. And instead of making motion towards their goal, they're stopped in their tracks because of that scary boogeyman. So what I want to do today is kind of break it down and ask you to share vulnerably in detail, if you don't mind, one of those mishaps or things, those barriers that you came upon early in your career and how that made you feel, how you recovered from it to build the business that you have today.
Yeah. And when thinking about this, I tried to think of something that might hold people back, like they want to know everything about before they dive in. But really, you learn from your mistakes. Obviously, people say that all the time, but it really is true. You have to just make the mistakes, and then that's how you're going to learn. Because people can tell you how to do things all day long, but until you really understand the concept and you really understand the consequence of it, then you're not going to learn. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn, even when you're working with a client, because it's going to happen. So,
and if you're not making mistakes, I bet you're not growing because you're not even like in the game.
I'm growing a lot then.
You're growing a lot. That's how I've grown my business so much.
Yes.
Is because sometimes the amount of mistakes I've made, it is jarring.
And that's what I love about you, is you share that so openly. I've learned a lot from your mistakes too.
Well, you learn from our mistakes so that you can save time, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So Ash, let's get into it, the nitty gritty.
Okay. So one example that I thought of right away when you asked, like, what is a mistake that you made in your business? I won't go into specifics because that would be not fun. But I mean, I'll talk about specifics, but
you just won't name people or
no names. Yeah. So I was super excited. I licensed with my fabric company and it's going great. And then I was like, I want to reach out to different industries. I landed what I consider to be a dream client in an industry that I feel passionate about and love and all of that. And it was going so well. The art director had big hopes and dreams and they were like, we're going to collaborate for years. And it was wonderful. And I was like, yes, please. This is so exciting. And at first it was great. We released a whole season worth of products and they were right as what I expected. And I signed a contract. I didn't take maybe the advice that you might have given me to run my contract by a lawyer because I was like, oh, that's really expensive. I'm just starting out. I'm just going to go. It looks good to me. And I don't know anything about legal jargon. So it looked good to me, but that didn't mean anything kind of. And for a while, it was really great. For a year or two, it was just pretty seamless, easy. I gave them artwork and they put it on their products and bam, bam, bam. But then as the relationship went on, I started realizing like, there's kind of some things that they're not following through on their bargain, which is things that really were brought up verbally to me. They weren't necessarily, I didn't even realize that they weren't in the contract at the time. So things like, oh, we're going to promote you as one of our promoted artists on our website. We're going to put your name on all the products that we made of yours. And so I was so new. I was just like, oh, I got the thing in my hand. I'm so excited. I didn't even notice at first that my name wasn't on the product. Right.
Yeah.
I was just like, yes, this is so cool. And so I did that for a little bit. And then I started just realizing, I'm not on the website. Oh, my product's on the website and my name is not on the product and are on the listing. And so I would bring these up slowly and they'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to fix that. And they just kind of just kept pushing me off. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really think I had any, clout to say like, no, this was part of our agreement. And I didn't even look back at the contract at the time to see like, is this something that I can bring up legally? And so once I finally did, I looked at the contract and I was like, oh, none of this stuff is in the contract. They didn't say in the contract that they were going to put my name on the product. They didn't say on the contract that they were going to put my name on the listing on the website. It was all just verbal from the art director. And then, so that was kind of okay. And I brought it up and I kind of let that slide. But then come a year later, I'm looking on Instagram and I see the company pop up and there are brand new products that were not even in existence when I licensed with them in completely different colorways that I had never approved. And they were colors that I would probably never use. Like I told you, I use ashy kind of muted colors. And these were like vibrant, bright magentas and things like that I just never would use. And so that's when I was like, wait a second, this is not what I got paid for. Cause I was paid flat fee for this, for this project based on how many designs I gave them. And so I started to freak out because I'm like, this is a lot more use of my artwork than I had agreed upon. And so I freaked out for a little bit. And then I wrote an email and I was like thinking, do I need to get a lawyer involved? I don't have the money to do that. This is just going to be ridiculous. And I almost just turned around and walked away and didn't approach them. So I freaked out a little bit and I didn't know what to do. And then I'm just like, no, I have learned and I know over the last couple of years, I know my value. I know that I can't be taken advantage of. I'm going to give them an opportunity to correct their mistakes without jumping down their throat and being like, I'm going to sue you or I'm going to go to a lawyer. So I wrote them an email and it was kind of a back and forth email. They didn't really understand why they pretended, or maybe they really didn't know that they had overstepped. Mm-hmm. And so I had to explain them and I had to take it on myself to explain them what art licensing is and how it's really important to me that my art is portrayed in the world correctly. And I took time to really explain it to them. And then it ended up that they retroactively paid me for that. I don't know that we'll work together again, but maybe, probably not. But they did. I was really proud in the end that I stood up for myself and I said, listen, these are the reasons why I need a payment on the end. I'm not looking to go in the legal route. We can resolve this hopefully. And it worked out. And so I learned my lesson. My biggest lesson is that I really need to think of the contract, but think of what could possibly happen in the future. So I will always say I need to approve future products. This contract can be renegotiated if you want to put my artwork on new products. New colorways need to be approved. All those kinds of things I have in my head now that I will never sign a contract without knowing. So how would I have known that until I made that mistake?
Well, the thing is, your story, which honestly had such a good, happy ending. Yeah. Because I think
it doesn't always, I'm sure.
It doesn't always, but like your story, there's a couple things that you said. The scarcity of money in the beginning of like, I don't want to spend money on a lawyer because of X, Y, and Z meant that you went into an agreement where, you're like, it's going to be fine because they gave me the verbal agreement, or, in this case, email agreement. We're so trusting because I think that whenever you're a person who has a certain set of values, and you're a person, not a business necessarily, like the company that you're working with, like they're a company, you're a person, and we're judging things by our own personal values. Like, oh, well, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. We don't need contracts in place to follow through most of the time with what we say we're going to do. But a business is totally different than that.
Well, and I will say it might not have even been a value issue in their case because the art director that I started with ended up leaving halfway through the project. And so the new team just kind of steamrolled through.
It just fell through the cracks.
And so it might not have even, could have been a complete misunderstanding. I'm not really sure, and I'm not going to judge it.
But, no.
But I'm just saying, like, you just never foresee, people could just leave the company and then you don't have that verification.
And without that legal agreement in place that specifies everything from my name needs to be on the listing to I'm promoted as an artist this many times on social media to like all future colorways and other products have to be approved by me and having that in writing in the contract. Like, who would think to do that at the very beginning of their journey? Mm-hmm. And you're like so many people who you trust that what's said is going to happen. And then things happen. Like you said, jobs change, things fell through the cracks. And companies, like I own my own product-based business and things move fast. Mm-hmm. Things move so fast. So it's not always like someone's trying to like take advantage of you. But as an artist, an individual artist, if you don't advocate for yourself, just like you did, you may never get that financial payoff, that retroactive royalty. But,
and realistically, like that's great that I did get paid in the end. But even if I hadn't, even if it had gone south even farther, my business isn't going to explode. I learned my lesson. I could have just moved on. And so even though that happened, I still was like, okay, this isn't going to end anything for me. Let's just go. Let's put this behind us.
And what I want to say in response to like what you just shared is so many artists, your story stops people in their tracks because they're like, oh no, this is a reason why maybe art licensing isn't for me. Because like, if this happens, what if I'm not brave enough to advocate for myself? Because, it is difficult to email a company, even if you have a good relationship with them, and point out like what you perceive as like a mistake, essentially. It is a mistake, but sometimes it's hard to explain like your point of view, especially if like what we know is we understand art licensing, but sometimes the people who want to collaborate with us as artists, they don't understand like what our expectations are. And so for so many newbies, they're like, what if this happens? What if I get taken advantage of, or my artwork gets used without my permission? And I've met people who, when this very thing happens, they actually stop. They're like, okay, this is a sign from the universe that art licensing is not for me and is not going to work, because look at this bad, scary thing that happened. And what you did is you did not let fear stand in your way. Were you a little bit nervous in that email?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
totally shaky.
I'm nervous with everything new that I do. Of course. Yes.
But you sent the email anyways. You did not go in accusatory, just like you said. You went in having a two-way conversation, right? You wanted that.
I tried to, yeah. And one thing I also will say is that I communicated with my art contemporaries, other people that I know that are in this business. I ran it by them first and I got their opinion. And so that's why community is such an important thing as well. But it was like, I called up a couple of my friends and I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. This is not right. I just need verification. And they're like, go get them. I know you can do it. And
so because you built a community and relationships, another fear people have is like, I won't have anyone to talk to. If this happens, I won't have a leg to stand on because like I don't have an attorney. Well, in this case, you had a community of other artists who've been before you and were able to give you advice and help you get what we perceive as the best outcome, which is exactly what happened, right? So you advocated for yourself. You sought advice from people who were already walking down that path. What did that change for you going into future licensing opportunities?
I would say I just feel even a little bit more confident when I go into a contract negotiation. I think, oh, these are the extra things I need to ask for. These are the extra things. And I feel like I'm coming from a place of experience, understanding that like this is what could happen. And so I need to do it this way instead of just going in blindly and not standing up for what I know as an artist I need. Yeah. And it's not being extra. It's not being picky as, or finicky as an artist. Nope.
Well, I think what I want to say as we kind of conclude this talk together, which thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably and openly, because in truth, who wants to admit online that they've made a big messy mistake? Like not a ton of people. So thank you for your vulnerability.
But if we don't admit it, then we're not learning, and no one can learn from my mistakes. So.
And that's what we want to do is we want to help our next generation of surface pattern designers and creative business owners learn from what we've done so that you can avoid the same mistakes that we've made. And I'm just thrilled with like the outcome that you had in the end. The retroactive royalty is one of my favorite things. I've had it too. And I've had to engage an attorney to help me whenever there have been mistakes like this. So I'm so proud of what you did. And I love seeing like what you have built since then. And you're helping so many people with their own businesses now. So thank you for that. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for you who are listening, I guess what I want to encourage you to do is, first of all, know that you're going to make mistakes in your creative business journey. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter how many classes you take. It doesn't matter, how prepared and how many spreadsheets you have. You're going to have things that happen in the moment that you cannot predict. And that's why you can't let the fear of the what if stop you from pursuing what you're called to do, which is to be a creative entrepreneur. And so the next time one of you have like a scary contract in front of you, which you will have, just know that your community is going to be your first resource to just run things past people and see like, does this look right? The second thing is there are attorneys out there who I think most people don't even realize there are attorneys for artists out there who will review contracts, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And the last thing I want to say is like, when you make mistakes in the future, if you can share openly with people, it's going to help someone else. It's going to help someone else to avoid the same pitfall. So that's why we're here, is to help people grow their audiences, but also grow as creative business owners in confidence and ability. Mm-hmm. So Ash, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've learned a lot from you during this because you always share your stuff. So I've also learned to share not just my mistakes, but all of my knowledge. And
that's what we do.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, for me, I am just so proud of you and what you've built. And where can people kind of find you online to kind of follow your story and learn more about what you do?
Yeah. I mean, the best place that's most interactive is probably just Instagram, Ash Cascade Design. My website is ashcascade.com.
Awesome. So everybody go give Ash a follow. And I would love for you to share with me on Instagram, maybe the biggest mistake you've made. I know that requires vulnerability, but if you can take that step forward, I promise you it's going to set you free and it's going to help you to be less afraid of the what if. And it's going to encourage other people to see like someone I follow and admire. They have walked through that thing that used to terrify me and they're better for it. So please go share in our comments, and thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Ash.
All right. Thank you. I hope someone found it valuable.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, could you do me a favor? Could you subscribe to this podcast and then share it with one of your best art friends? I'd really appreciate it. And then head on over to Instagram and follow me at the Leverage Your Art account. And you can keep up with all of our future episodes. Thank you so much for your support. It means everything to have you here listening and learning. Bye.